Everyone knew my stepsister's two childhood friends were pursuing me. Everyone speculated which one I would fall for. That was until the day I began seeing comments floating in the air. Does this side character really think the male leads are interested in her? They're being forced by the system to pursue her, but they actually love the female lead. Once she truly falls for them, they'll abandon her and begin their epic journey to win her back. It was then I understood, if they failed to win me over, they would die. By the time these floating comments appeared, Jake and Ethan had already been courting me for 2 weeks. My mother had married into the wealthy Wilson family, giving me a stepsister in name only. Our relationship wasn't good or bad, we mostly treated each other as if we were invisible. Jake and Ethan were Haley's childhood friends. The three of them had supposedly been inseparable since they were toddlers, an unbreakable triangle that lasted into adulthood. The city buzzed with rumors that both men were in love with Haley. But when I suddenly entered the picture, those rumors shattered. The gossip shifted to how the newcomer had stolen the spotlight from the childhood friend. Everyone wondered which suitor I would choose. But only I knew the truth. Even without the floating comments, I had always suspected they didn't genuinely like me. From the beginning, I doubted their motives, wondering if I had unknowingly become part of some elaborate game. That was why I remained cautious about their advances. One morning, coming downstairs for breakfast, I glanced at the floating comments. The side character's affection for Jake is at 30, basically stranger level. But her affection for Ethan has reached 50. Just a little more effort and she'll fall in love. In the original story, it took the male leads 5 months to win over the side character. Just hold on a bit longer until the epic chase for the female lead begins. I wasn't surprised my feelings leaned toward Ethan. He had helped me quite a lot in daily life. Compared to Jake's inconsistent attention and reckless behavior, Ethan's maturity and steadiness gave him the advantage. Still, I was curious about these affection levels. Did I control them? As I considered testing it, I noticed Ethan sitting on the living room sofa with Haley. When he saw me, he greeted me warmly. Unlike Jake, who had impulsively confessed right away, Ethan had taken a calmer approach, casually chatting, subtly expressing interest, and helping me integrate into their circle. For someone usually reserved, even small shifts in behavior were noticeable. Normally, he only cared about Haley. His special attention toward me made his intentions obvious. I smiled back. Good morning. When my eyes met Haley's, she glanced at my nightgown, rolled her eyes, and muttered under her breath. I ignored her. Our relationship had been lukewarm from the start, and then, for no reason, she suddenly began treating me with disdain. This was the perfect time to experiment. While eating breakfast, I observed them, and my heart sank. Though my face stayed neutral, the comments revealed what was happening. What's going on? Why is the side character's affection for Ethan suddenly dropping? -10, -20, -30? Why does it keep decreasing? She's just eating breakfast. Is she jealous of the female lead? She was almost at the like level. It's normal to feel uncomfortable seeing your crush with another girl, but why such a dramatic drop? Does she have some kind of purity complex? From the corner of my eye, I saw Ethan stiffen as though he, too, had received a notification. His conversation with Haley faltered. Before he could glance at me, I quickly looked away. That was when I realized I could control these affection levels. Side character Sophie's affection, -50. Current affection, 0. I was shocked to hear Ethan's system voice. Immediately, a warning alarm followed. Warning. Warning. If affection drops to -200, the mission will be considered failed and immediate termination will follow. When affection enters negative numbers, random punishments will be triggered. If affection stagnates for too long, the host will be judged negligent, and punishments will be triggered. Please actively complete your mission to avoid penalty. The rules were harsher than I imagined. The next moment, a shadow fell over me. Ethan's face gave little away, but his slightly furrowed brows betrayed his displeasure. Still, he forced a smile and said, I brought you a gift from my business trip. It's that necklace you said you liked. He handed me an elegantly wrapped box. He had probably planned to give it to me later, but now that my affection level hovered on the edge of danger, he rushed. Inside was indeed the necklace I had once admired. It was beautifully designed, and expensive. I've always loved shiny, costly things. When I was a child, too poor to afford jewelry, I collected candy wrappers instead. I've never hidden my love for luxury. Some say I'm shallow, a greedy woman who flaunts her desire for wealth. But it's simply who I am. That necklace is gorgeous. And this suit-wearing male lead is so handsome. The side character must be falling hard. The male lead is making a move. Her affection must be skyrocketing now. That necklace is super expensive. I did feel my affection rise slightly. Side character Sophie's affection, +1. Current affection, 1. She loses affection by the dozens but only gains one at a time? Since when did she become so stingy? The most frugal side character in history. Good thing the male lead bought this on the side. If she knew the necklace he gave the female lead was even more expensive, she'd be furious. Turning the necklace in my hands, I asked bluntly, "Am I the only one who has this?" Ethan hesitated. I normally wouldn't have spoken so directly. I had always been cautious around him and Jake, only showing gratitude when they offered gifts. But now, things were different. There was no need for embarrassment or politeness. His survival depended on my affection. Wasn't I saving his life by keeping the score above -200? In that sense, providing me with gifts was his duty. Before Ethan could answer, Haley spoke first. With a mocking smile, she dangled a necklace from her wrist. "Do you really think that's possible?" She sneered, giving me a challenging look. I did not answer Haley. I let the chain of her bracelet fall back against her wrist and studied the box in my hands as if it were something from a museum I had to catalog before I could feel anything about it. The floating comments clustered at the edges of my vision like gnats. The side character is about to explode. -20 incoming. Look at the female lead being smug. The necklace is probably a couple model, one for each of them. The male lead messed up. I set the lid on the table and pushed the velvet aside with my thumb. A small tag hid under the pendant. I flipped it and found a tiny serial code that matched the one glinting at Haley's wrist. Couple set. Of course. Affection for Ethan dipped. -5. -10. There it went, like a floor losing boards one by one. Ethan drew a breath, quiet but sharp, and I heard his system again, a clipped mechanical murmur that tried to sound calm. Host status in danger. Affection trend negative. Deploy soft correction protocol. The punishment did not arrive as a bolt from nowhere. It came as a simple misfortune that would pass his life. The coffee carafe the housekeeper carried bumped the corner of a chair. Hot liquid sloshed and caught the back of Ethan's hand. He jerked, teeth clenched, and set the box down to grab a napkin. His system pinged. Random punishment executed. Severity minimal. Recommend immediate remediation through appeasement. I looked at the reddening skin and, against my first instinct to let the algorithm do its thing, I stood and walked to the sink for the cold compress. The comments pulsed. She is pretending to care. She will give him +5 and then rip it away, just watch. I pressed the compress gently to his hand. He did not look at me right away. There was a tightness around his eyes like he was holding back words and outcomes both. "Thank you," he said at last. I nodded and took my seat again. The affection bar shivered and edged up. +1. Current affection 1. I closed the box and pushed it back toward him. "Keep it for now." He blinked once. "If I were the same piece as your favorite person, it will confuse me. I want what belongs to me alone. If that is not possible, then no gift is fine." The comments erupted. "She is drawing lines. She is going to make him work. Look at the cool queen act. Cold on the surface, wildfire inside." I reached for toast and only when I bit into it did I realize I had not tasted a single thing since I saw those comments about termination. It was not my life on the line. It was theirs. And that was the trap. The system would use my mercy against me until I mistook it for love. A door opened down the hall and Jake came in with the air of a man who wanted a camera to catch his good side. He wore a bomber jacket and the kind of grin that meant he had arrived alongside a noise, even if the noise had not yet caught up. His eyes flicked from Haley to Ethan to me and then he spotted the box. Well, he said, someone got an early start. He leaned on the back of a chair. "Tell me you did not steal my idea, Ethan. You do not even like jewelry." Ethan ignored the provocation. He had folded the napkin and kept the compress against his hand, but a new steadiness had come into his voice like he had decided to stand there all day if that is what the mission required. "I'm correcting a mistake," he said. Jake snapped his fingers. Couple sets are a rookie move." He turned to me, the grin widening. "I brought something better." He gestured toward the front steps. Outside, audible even through the walls, an engine idled with an impatient thrum. "I got us a ride. Breakfast run to the coast. No paparazzi, just sun and wind and bad coffee in paper cups. What do you say?" The comments swooped. "Cliché playboy move. But it works on side characters with affection under 30. She will get on the bike, he will take his helmet off at a red light, she will look away, and there, +30. Only if she lives." I set the toast down. "I will go on one condition," I said. Jake lit up. "Name it." "No stunts. No speeding. Helmets and gloves. If you break any rule, I get off and take a cab back." He made a face. "Do I look like a teenager?" Then he saw my expression and lifted both hands as if I were a cop and he had remembered his license. "Fine. Safety first." Haley's laugh was sweet as a ceramic bell and twice as hollow. "You have never kept a rule in your life," she said. "And you hate gloves." He winked at her. "For Sophie, I will learn to love mittens." The affection numbers around Jake sat at a board 30 and did not move. With Ethan, they trembled between 1 and 0 like they were looking for a safe floor to settle on. I thought about the warning. Stagnation triggers punishment. Negative numbers trigger punishment. The game wanted motion. If I stood still, the algorithm would trip us both. If I leapt, I could fall in a new way. The coast was 3 hours away, so instead of winding highways we took the city loop and crossed the bridge. I had not been on a bike in years. The seat hummed with the engine and the wind tugged at my sleeves. Jake obeyed the rules for exactly 14 minutes, which must have felt like a year inside his chest. He kept glancing at me in the side mirror as if waiting for permission to break into himself. He has always been like this, the comments said. He learned to be loud so he could see himself. At a long red light, he could not stand it anymore. Do you trust me? He asked. No, I said, honest and simple. He laughed and the sound tore something open in the air, a small bright rip in a gray morning. Right answer. The light changed and we went. Twice he accelerated just enough to flirt with the line and twice the numbers dipped and the system little alarms winked in my periphery. -2. -3. Random punishment cued. He must have felt the cue in his bones because his jaw clenched and he corrected himself with an effort that looked like pride breaking its own knee. On the way back he pulled into a food truck lot and bought me a coffee and a donut so big it needed a plan. He did not hand me flowers or a speech. He sat on the curb like a schoolboy and nudged the paper cup toward my knee. So, he said. Was it bad? It was fine, I said. He mocked a gasp. Fine. I am wounded. Show me where. He held up his band-free hand. I did not smile. He studied my face and the rest of the jokes dried up. He looked down at his coffee, then at the bike, then at me again, and his voice lost the echo he used to fill the empty parts of a room. People think I do not care, he said. They are not wrong. I care about fewer things than I pretend. But the things I do care about, I do not know how to hold without squeezing too hard. The comments went very quiet for a breath, like a theater crowd when they realized the actor had stopped playing and started confessing. +5, someone typed in a small shy font. +3, another wrote. He did not look at me while he spoke about himself. That was new. I let the warmth of the paper cup seep into my palms and did not reward him with an easy something. Affection for Jake ticked to 35 and then held. The system purred. Progress acceptable. Punishment cancelled. When we returned, Ethan's car was gone. Haley was on the patio with 2 of her friends, all white linen and sunglasses shaped like shields. When she saw my helmet she raised her brows so high they touched a new day. You look almost human, she said. Sunlight suits you. Jake gave her a salute with 2 fingers and went inside. Haley leaned on the rail and watched me loosen the strap under my chin. A shadow of curiosity crossed her expression, fast and fine as a bird. She had the kind of face that made people explain themselves before she asked a single question. Unfortunately for her, I had already run out of explanations that morning. If you have something to say it, I told her. She smiled without showing teeth. I was going to ask what you thought of your gift. I imagine you were thrilled. Couples sets are so romantic. I met her gaze. I told him to take it back. Her smile cracked. It was small, but it was there. The comments scrambled. She does not like sharing. The side character refuses duplicates. Queen behavior. Put it in the trope cabinet. Haley shook off the moment and tossed her hair. I doubt he will return it, she said. He thinks this is a test. He loves tests. I pictured the compress on his hand, the careful way he had held a napkin like a formal apology. Maybe he did love tests. Maybe he had lived inside one so long he could not tell where the instructions ended and his desire began. In the afternoon my phone buzzed with an invitation I had been dodging for weeks. The Bennett Foundation Gala. Every year, every camera. The city would be there, which meant the story would write itself if I showed up on anyone's arm. Once, that would have scared me into a small dark house. Now it felt like a page I could write on purpose. I texted both of them the same line. If you want to see me tonight, meet me at the gala at 9. Come alone. No entourages. No matching gifts. Bring me something that is not a thing. The comments lost their minds. What does that mean? Bring a memory. Bring truth. Bring a childhood. Bring a plan. Ethan replied first. Understood. Jake took 9 minutes and then wrote back, question. Do jokes count as things? I typed, only if they are expensive. He sent a string of laughing faces and then a photo of a very solemn goldfish. I did not react. At 8:55 I stood under the chandeliers and felt like I had stepped into a different algorithm, one built from light and glass and the smell of polished floors. I wore a simple black dress I had paid for myself, no logos, no borrowed brag, and a thin chain that meant nothing to anyone but me. The comments spun like confetti and tried to stick. She came alone. She looks like she does not need anyone and that is how you get everyone. If she smiles, the room will bend its neck to learn how. At 9 on the dot, Ethan found me near the balcony doors. He had changed out of the day and into evening with a precision that matched his voice. For a breath I saw him the way the city did, a series of lines that converged into an outcome. He did not bring a box. He offered me an envelope with my name in plain block letters. Inside was a page torn from a ledger, photocopied and faint around the edges. 10 years ago the Wilson Foundation had cut a program that paid for music lessons at a public school. The program had started before my mother married into the family. It had survived administrators and budgets both, until it did not. I looked up. I thought you might want to read the minutes, he said. They did not lose money. They traded it for a better story. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small flash drive. Here are the contracts and the correspondence. If you want to bring the program back, I can set the meeting. But you will be the one who signs the check. You cannot buy it for me, I said. He shook his head. I would not dare. It has to be yours or it is just more of me. The comments filled with a quiet, almost tender kind of screaming. This is how he does it. He offers a path and lets her walk it alone. +20. +12. I felt the numbers tremble and then move, not because he had chosen a clever door, but because the girl I had been once, who had pressed her ear to windows to hear pianos she could not touch, reached out from inside me and set her hand on the page. I kept my voice steady. Thank you. I will read everything. We stood there for a moment, and did not pretend we were not standing there. Then a voice from behind me said, "You are late, man," and Jake arrived like weather. He wore a suit badly, which somehow worked. He did not carry flowers or a speech or a gift bag with a ribbon. He carried a cardboard box of the kind movers hate. "What is that?" I asked. He set it on a cocktail table and lifted the lid with a flourish. Inside, a mess of artifacts. A scratched plastic trophy with a soccer ball on top. A broken model car covered in decals. An instant camera with tape keeping the back closed. A stack of photos rubber banded, the top one of a boy standing on a pier with a fish he did not catch. He looked as if he had raided a garage before coming here. "I brought you what I am when nobody looks," he said. "Pick something. Ask me the story. If it is good I get +10. If it is boring I will go home and try again tomorrow." A comment typed itself in all caps. "This is a trap. He is going to charm his way into her narrative." Another replied in lowercase. "Or maybe he wants to be seen and this is the only way he knows." I plucked the instant camera from the box. "Why is it taped?" He grinned. "Because I broke the latch when I was 13. Haley got it for her birthday. I borrowed it to take a picture of my bike, which was technically a neighbor's bike. I crashed, the camera flew, everything went wrong, and I spent the rest of the summer mowing lawns to replace it. I kept this one because the photos came out crooked even after I fixed it. See?" He pulled a picture from his pocket and showed me a gallery of tilted faces and half skies. They were terrible. They were beautiful. The numbers ticked up. +7. +3. Ethan stood with his hands behind his back like a soldier letting an enemy pass because there were civilians in the road. He did not interrupt. He did not perform. He had learned the hardest trick a man like him could learn, which was to give a scene to someone who needed it more. Then the air shifted. It was not dramatic. The band kept playing. Glasses still clinked. But the comments slowed and then changed font, like a different person had taken a seat at a console. Admin present, a line read. Monitoring divergence. Haley was by the bar with her friends, the white linen replaced by flame red silk. She tilted her head and for a fraction of a second her gaze cut through the crowd and found me with a precision that made the skin between my shoulders tighten. I thought she would smirk and look away. Instead she smiled, a small polite smile meant for rooms like this, and then she said something to no one at all. Her lips shaped the words and there was nobody in front of her to hear them. I could read them because I had watched her talk since the day my mother moved us into this house. She said, "She will not choose tonight. She will push them to the cliff and make them look down." Then she nodded as if someone had answered. My heart stuttered once and then kept time, because another line of comments appeared over her shoulder, faint and far but legible to me. Female lead status stable. New objective issued. Neutralize side character. A small tremor ran through the floor of my numbers. Ethan's system hissed like a radio under a blanket. Host safety parameters updated. Rival mission detected. Jake winced and pressed 2 fingers to his temple as if a noise had sliced behind his eyes. I understood then that for weeks I had been the only one reading the graffiti on the sky. Now the wall had turned and showed me the letters in a second color. Haley was not the audience. She was a player. She lifted her drink, turned, and drifted toward us with the light walk of a woman who had never stumbled in a hallway because the world had been built to fit the length of her stride. The comments scattered like birds. Some tried for humor. Boss fight incoming. Others lost their irony and went bare. Do not look down. Keep moving. The systems in the men hummed like distant engines. The map of the night changed under my feet. I closed the box with a camera and set my hand on the envelope with the ledger minutes. Then I did something I had not done since the comments began. I turned them off. It was not on any menu. It was an act of will. A refusal to let the chorus tell me what my heartbeat meant. The silence was not empty. It had a shape. It had my own breath in it. Haley stopped 2 steps away. Her smile belonged to a magazine. "Sophie," she said. "You look lovely." "So do you," I said. We were civil. We were knives wrapped in silk. She glanced at the envelope and the cardboard box. 2 suitors, 2 offerings. "You do like symmetry," she said. I returned her smile with one of my own. "If there is a mirror here, it is because someone hung it," I said. She blinked once. "Score 1, I thought without counting it." Then she did something with her eyes, a small slide of focus that I had seen only on screens with overlays. I knew that gesture now. She was reading what I used to read. She was checking my numbers. The silence inside me held. She tilted her head. "You are calm," she said. "That is new." She turned to the men with social warmth that had the weight of gravity. "Ethan, Jake, you look handsome. Be careful, both of you. The ground is not what it was this morning." She lifted her glass a few inches in a toast that was not a toast at all, and then she walked away, the crowd parting ahead of her like a curtain that knew its cue. Ethan cleared his throat as if he had swallowed a stone. "Did you feel that?" he asked under his breath. Jake rubbed his temple again. "I hate migraines," he muttered. "They feel like warnings." They were warnings? They were more than that. I stood at the edge of the balcony doors and looked out over the dark line of the park, the city rising beyond like a set designed to impress a god. I had a choice that was not the one everyone thought. It was not between these 2 men, pick one. It was between this script, pick none of it, or write a new page. I turned the comments back on and they came in a flood, but I no longer needed them to tell me what I was seeing. The admin line flickered again. Neutralize side character. The algorithm would try it softly first. Missteps. Misquotes. Accidents that looked like spilled coffee but burned deeper. I thought of the ledger, the music that had gone quiet so someone could add a line to a report. I thought of a crooked photo of a boy in a sky. I thought of a little girl who collected shiny candy wrappers because she could not afford diamonds, and how she had taught herself to fold the cellophane until it looked like a gem. I turned back to Ethan and Jake. "I will make you a deal," I said. They both went still. "You want me to choose. The system wants me to move. If I move carelessly, someone dies. If I refuse to move, someone is punished until he breaks. So here is the deal. 1 week. No gifts I can wear or spend. 1 truth from each of you every day, and 1 action that costs you something you cannot post about. If you lie, I will know. If you try to game it, I will know. If my affection dips below 0, it will not be because I did not warn you." Jake raised his brows and whistled a low sound that did not travel beyond us. "That is brutal," he said, and then he smiled as if he had been waiting for a real rule all his life. "I am in." Ethan's eyes warmed in a way that felt like weather changing without wind. "I accept," he said. He hesitated, then added, "and in return, 1 promise from you. If at any point you feel that what is growing is not real, you will walk away before the number says it for you. Do not let mercy become another algorithm." The comments went very soft, like the part of a song where the band trusts the audience to hum. +10. +9. Plus nothing, because sometimes staying even is a miracle. I nodded. Agreed. I slipped the envelope into my bag and tucked the camera under my arm like a ridiculous clutch. We moved back into the room and the night kept glittering as if none of it mattered. At the far end of the hall, Haley turned her head slightly and watched me for exactly 1 heartbeat. Then a new line glowed over her shoulder, a line only I seemed to see. Secondary directive engaged. Introduce 3rd variable. My skin prickled. 3rd variable. A door near the stage opened and a man I had never seen stepped into the light with the casual confidence of a hero arriving in the middle of Act 2. The comments did not know his name. That scared me more than any warning so far. For the first time since the comments began, the chorus did not have a script to hand me. The system had brought a stranger to the party. And I understood that Chapter 3 was not going to be about choosing between 2 roads. It was going to be about building a map while the ground itself moved under our feet. I did not move when the man stepped into the light. The band kept playing a song that wanted to be background and the people kept smiling like glassware, but my nerves lined up as if someone had called my name in a voice I remembered from a dream. The comments flickered uselessly. Unknown. Unknown. 3rd variable present. No profile. No path. He was not taller than the others. He did not glow. He wore a simple dark suit and a plain tie like a person who had read the invitation and obeyed it. But the room reacted to him the way birds react to a weather change. Heads turned a fraction before his footsteps passed. Space made itself, not because he demanded it, but because he walked as if he already had it. He looked at me as if he had picked me out of a crowd a long time ago. Not because I was special. Because he had been told that this was where I would be when it mattered. Sophie, he said. The comments jittered. How does he know her name? Who is this? Why does the font not stick to him? I kept my voice steady. You have me at a disadvantage. He smiled, small and almost apologetic. I doubt that, he said. Then he tipped his head toward the balcony doors. May I borrow a minute before everyone decides what we mean to each other? Ethan took a half step closer. Jake did the same, not in sync but together anyway. It is fine, I told them. Stay where I can see you. We stepped out onto the balcony. The night air smelled like rain had been promised and then delayed. The city lay below like a map someone had traced too carefully. He leaned his forearms on the rail the way men do when they have told 1,000 truths and are not sure which one will work tonight. I waited. I am not here to play, he said. I am here because this instance is drifting. The algorithm does not like drift. It brings me when there is a chance to fix it without breaking everything. You work for the system, I said. Sometimes, he said. On paper. His mouth tilted. In practice, think of me as a hinge. I make doors open that have been painted shut. Do you have a name? I asked. He thought for a beat. Call me Rowan. The comments tried to label him and failed. They fell back to the old tricks. Mysterious helper. Deus Ex with better shoes. Do not trust him. Trust him once. What do you want? I asked. To survive my job, he said. And if I cannot do that, then to make sure the people inside the story survive theirs. You are not meant to know me. That you can see me at all means the narrative plate is wobbling. My hands rested on the rail. And if it falls? He glanced at the ballroom, then at the park, then at me. Then we do not get a reset, he said. We get a collapse. The rules turn into teeth. Affection below zero stops being math and starts being blood. Your deal bought you a week. Admin responded by adding me. If I cannot ease the system back to its rails, it will do what systems do. It will make a lesson out of you. I let that sit. I am not interested in being anyone's lesson, I said. Good, he said. Lessons rarely are. I looked at the city lights. In the glass of the doors I could see Ethan and Jake, both pretending not to watch the exact place where I stood. And Haley, far side of the room, red silk in a private gravity, turning her head just enough to keep me inside her range. How do I end a story without killing the people the story uses? I asked. Rowan did not answer right away. When he did not give me a trick. He gave me work. The system cannot force an outcome that all principal roles reject in the same sentence, he said. It cannot override a contract made in the open by the side character, a male lead, and the female lead. It has to honor a declared ending if it is named by those three and witnessed by a fourth. And you are the fourth, I said. He shook his head. No. I am a hinge. Witness can be anyone the story acknowledges. A press camera. A crowd. A board minutes page. He nodded at my bag. You brought some witnesses with you. I touched the envelope with the photocopied ledger minutes inside. You are telling me to negotiate with the story, I said. He lifted one shoulder. You already started. That was why they called me. You turned the comments off. You wrote a rule the system did not like but could not contradict. Now you have to finish the sentence before admin writes the rest for you. And if I fail? I asked. Then I make it fast, he said quietly. I do not get to choose much. I do get to choose that. He did not look like a killer. He looked tired in the way only honest men do. I nodded once. Thank you for telling me the truth. He straightened. Do you trust me? He asked. No, I said. Not yet. Good, he said. Trust makes people sloppy. He stepped back inside. As he passed Jake he touched 2 fingers to his brow, as if they had seen each other in another hallway once. He told Ethan nothing at all, which was more considerate than it looked. Then he vanished into the crowd like a note dissolving into the next chord. I went back to the men. Time it is, Jake said under his breath, eyes on my face like he was soft reading a teleprompter only he could see. You look like you have a plan. I do, I said. I turned to Ethan. Do you still have a route into the board meeting minutes archive? Always, he said. And you, said Jake. Do you still know how to make a camera look where you want without looking like you are asking? He grinned, small and fierce. Always. I opened my bag and took out the envelope and the old instant camera he had brought me as a joke and a truth. The tape held. The past held too. We did not make a scene. We made a room inside a room. At the gala there was a tradition of calling donors to the stage to wave at the money and the music. This year the foundation chair announced a surprise. A return of an old program, long beloved. I did not wait to be called. I walked to the edge of the stage and stood where the lights were not quite sure I qualified. "Excuse me," I said into the closest microphone. My voice carried without theatrics. "My name is Sophie. I am not a donor yet. I am a witness." The comments tried to laugh and failed. The font changed twice and then settled on something simple. I held up the photocopied minutes. 10 years ago this foundation ended a program that paid for music lessons at a public school. They said it was not sustainable. The numbers say it was. I would like to put those numbers where everyone can see them. A murmur ran through the room. The chair took a step toward me. Security looked to the chair for permission that did not come. I turned to the crowd. "I am not here to embarrass anyone. I am here to make a contract." The comments sat up. Contract. Contract. Admin alert. I looked at Haley. She stood very still, the drink in her hand forgotten. I spoke to her and to the room at the same time. "Haley," I said. "We do not know each other well. Maybe we never will. But you are the lead in the story the city thinks it knows. You could snap your fingers and the room would agree that this night belongs to you. I am not interested in stealing your night. I am interested in changing what it means." She narrowed her eyes, not in anger but in calculation. "Go on," she said. I lifted the envelope. "I would like the foundation to restore this program. I will donate the initial funds. Not on behalf of the Wilson name. On behalf of my mother, who raised me to love music before anyone gave me a last name to wear like a coat that did not fit." A hush folded over us. In the front row a reporter lifted a camera. "Witness." "Here is my contract," I said. I turned in a slow circle so every face could see my mouth and read my words. "I will not be used as a test and I will not be used as bait. The men who stand near me will not be punished for my refusal to play. The woman who stands across from me will not be punished for not hating me. We will end this arc with 3 signatures, spoken and seen. Then, if we choose each other, it will be without a system running death under the floor." Ethan stepped forward before anyone else could breathe. "I accept," he said. His voice did not need a microphone. "For 1 week I have been telling you truths that cost me. Here is another. I do not love the way the story taught me to love. I love the work of building something that lasts longer than applause. If you choose me after the arc ends, I will earn it in daylight. If you do not, I will still help you make this program move." The comments lit with a soft light. +20. Accepted. Override listening. Jake did not try for a joke. He set his hand on the box of artifacts and squared his shoulders. "I accept," he said. "Truth that costs me. I have cheated at being myself so long I forgot what it felt like to be bad at the role. I do not know if I can love without noise. I want to try. If you do not choose me, I will still show up when it is quiet." He turned the instant camera to the crowd and lifted it like a flag. "Witness," he said, and pressed the shutter. The picture slid out with a mechanical sigh. He shook it because of course he did. The rectangle bloomed like a small honest thing. My eyes went to Haley. This was the hinge. Without her, the system could call this theater and keep the teeth hidden in velvet. She did not move for a count of 3. Then she walked to stand opposite me, facing the room. The comments vibrated with fear and wanted to tell her what to do. She did not read them. She looked only at me. "You are not my enemy," she said. "It makes better headlines if you are. But even when I hated you for existing near me, I was angrier at the way every room expected me to be a mirror for someone else's desire. I'm tired of playing a grace note to a melody that does not know my name. I accept." The room exhaled. The admin line flared in my vision. Contract detected. Countermeasures limited. Witness required. The reporter raised his camera again. 2 more cameras joined it. Then the chairman changed his mind about security and handed me a pen as if that made any legal sense. It did not matter. The story does not require paper. It requires that the sentence be said and seen. I spoke clearly. This arc ends now. No debts. No punishments disguised as fate. If there is a love story after this, it will be ours to write. If there's not, there will still be music. The world did not crack. It unhooked. The comments thinned and then drifted like fog that had grown bored. The admin line faded. Somewhere, far away, a lever eased back to neutral. A small, delayed punishment tried to arrive anyway, cheap and late. A server stumbled on a cable. A tray tilted. A glass slid and would have shattered by my foot. Jake caught it without breaking stride and set it upright with the ease of a man who had always known how to rescue a moment, and had finally learned to do it without needing applause. He did not look at me to collect points. He looked at the server and said, "You good?" The server nodded, eyes shiny with relief. The band switched to a piece with strings. Someone clapped without meaning to. The room remembered how to be a party. After the formal part ended, After a dozen people who had never seen me before told me I was brave, after the chair made a speech that forgot this had not been his idea, we slipped out a side door at a night that felt new. Haley joined us on the steps. For a second we stood there like a photograph a stranger might take and keep because it looked like a beginning. Then she said, "My mission updated. It says complete. It says choose your own epilogue." "What does yours say?" Jake asked me. I checked. The overlay was gone. Only my own thoughts answered. "Quiet," I said. "That is what it says." Ethan looked at Roan's last location as if he could see traces of where the hinge had passed. "Do you think it will hold?" he asked. "I think we will hold it," I said. We did not make vows. We made plans. The week that followed was not cinematic. It was work, which is rarer and better when you want to find out who you are without an audience. On the first day, Ethan brought me a spreadsheet that translated board myths into receipts. He resigned from a committee that used his name to launder decisions he did not agree with. He called the school principal himself and listened for an hour without trying to fix anything with a donation. His truth that day was simple and heavy. "I was adopted at 9, he said. I learned to earn belonging by being useful. I am only now learning that usefulness without love is just labor with extra zeros." The action that cost him something was private. He called his mother and told her he loved her for more than the day she signed the papers. He did not post a word. On the second day, Jake showed up at 6 in the morning and waited on the stoop with coffee he had made badly and refused to apologize for. He told me the truth that cost him like a man slicing open a joke to show the gears. "I learned early that if I could make people laugh, they would not notice I had nothing else ready," he said. "I'm trying to learn how to arrive with nothing and still be real." His action that cost him something was to turn down a brand deal that would have paid him plenty to pretend to be in love on camera. He sent them a message that read, "Find someone who needs the money more and does not mind the lie." Then he did not tell anyone except me. On the third day, I failed them both. I woke up with the comments gone and still could not keep from counting my own breath. I picked fights with my reflection and with a cabinet door that would not open smoothly. I went to the school and stood outside the music room and listened to kids murder a song they would one day play like a prayer. When I got home, both men were sitting on the steps like two different kinds of patients. I told them the truth that cost me. "I like the parts of me that are greedy and I am afraid I will starve them into being cruel," I said. "I want to love money without letting it erase my face. I want to love beauty without using it to humiliate anyone who does not have it." Ethan nodded. Jake said, "Keep the wrappers, buy the diamonds, pass the wrappers to a child who thinks they shine." We sat there for an hour and let the day be a person who was allowed to breathe. On the fourth day, Haley called and asked if I would meet her alone. I did. We walked in the park and she took off her sunglasses so I could see her actual eyes. She told me two truths. One was that her mission had taught her to win men by letting them gather around her like birds and then pretending she did not see them. The other was that she did not want to be a cage. We stood by the lake and watched a boy in a too big life jacket throw bread at ducks that did not need it. She laughed softly. "I do not know how to live without being looked at," she said. "Learning might be my story now. I do not know if we will be friends. I hope we will not be enemies." On the fifth day, the system made one last, petty grab. A gossip site ran a piece that called me a gold digger with a savior complex. It used photos of me at the gala with captions that made my mouth say things I had not said. The old overlay nudged at the edges of my vision like a bad habit tapping on the glass. I did not respond. The foundation posted the minutes and the budget and a link to the reinstated program application. The reporter from the gala ran a segment that was dry and correct and included an interview with a music teacher who cried twice and apologized for it neither time. That did more good than any speech ever could. On the sixth day, Rowan appeared on the bench outside the school while I waited for a meeting. He did not look like an angel or a ghost. He looked like a civil servant who had stayed late again. "You did it," he said. "We did it," I said. "Thank you for telling me the rules." He shrugged. "Rules are only interesting when someone uses them to make mercy." "Will the system come back?" I asked. "It never leaves," he said. "It just forgets you when you stop being useful. That is your victory." He stood. "One last thing. You do not owe any man a choice today. You can choose again in a month, in a year, in a life. Or not at all." "I know," I said. He smiled, real and brief, and then he was part of the sidewalk again. On the seventh day, I called both men and asked them to meet me where the music would start. The school auditorium smelled like wood and dust and a future someone had opened a window to air out. A few instruments had already arrived, rented and repaired, scratched and perfect. Ethan sat in the front row with his hands folded like he was listening to a symphony only he could hear. Jake was on the stage trying to play 3 notes on a trumpet and making the kind of sound that makes an honest man laugh at himself. I stood in the aisle and told the truth that cost me most. I do not know what love will look like when no one is watching, I said. I want to find out. With one of you or neither of you. But not under demand. Not with numbers counting down like a fuse. Ethan nodded as if he had been practicing the motion and finally learned it. I can wait, he said. Or I can let go. Both are real. Jake lowered the trumpet and tried not to look relieved by the idea that there was time. I want to be the man you would choose if there were no bonuses for choosing, he said. If I fail, I want to be the friend you do not have to forgive for failing. We sat on the edge of the stage with our feet swinging like children and listened to the empty room sound like possibility. A custodian swept the back aisle. Sunlight came through the high windows and hit the dust in a way that made the air look made of gold. Cheap gold, the best kind, the kind you can breathe. Later, after meetings and forums and 1,000 small decisions that no camera wanted to record, we walked out to the curb. Haley was waiting by the gate. She wore jeans and a plain white shirt and no makeup at all. For the first time since I met her, she looked like a person before a role. She lifted a hand in greeting. I thought I might come volunteer, she said. I am good at schedules and terrible at sitting still. Also, kids do not care who I am. I think I need that. We smiled. Not knives. Not mirrors. Just people. So, Jake said, his voice light because he could not help it and heavy because he was trying. What does the final chapter say? I looked up at the sky. No font. Just weather, changing as it pleased. It says we stop calling it a chapter and start calling it a day, I said. Then tomorrow is another day. And after enough days, they call it a life. He frowned as if that cheated him of a punchline, then grinned because something better had replaced it. Ethan looked like a man who had set a weight down and only then realized how much it had hurt to carry it. We walked toward the corner. A bus hissed. A kid on a scooter tried to race his own shadow and won by half a wheel. The music room behind us held silence that was full of the sound of what would come. I felt for the old overlay out of habit and found only breath. It was enough. It was everything. We did not know who I would love. We knew we would not die to find out. At night, after all the lights were off and the city could finally hear itself think, I emptied a jar of saved candy wrappers onto my kitchen table. I smoothed each one and folded them into little gems the way I had when I was small. I put them in a bowl by the door. Tomorrow, some kid would take one and make it shine in a different hand. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. It was a photo, badly framed, of a ledger page with a new line on it. Music program, reinstated. Approved. There was a fingerprint smudge at the corner like someone had pressed too hard after signing. There was no caption. There did not need to be. I put the phone face down and looked at the ceiling. It was just a ceiling. No words. No orders. No threats. I breathed in. I breathed out. The system, somewhere, moved on to find a different story to bully. This one held. Tomorrow I would meet with the principal and the teacher who cried and the board member who had finally remembered how to say yes. I would meet with Ethan over coffee that tasted like competence and with Jake on a walk that included 3 jokes and a silence neither of us tried to fill. I would meet with Haley by the supply closet, where we would discover that labels matter less than instruments in tune. And one day, when the time was right and there was no audience leaning in to devour the ending, I would choose or I would not, and either way it would be real. That was the point all along. Not the ring. Not the chase. Not the plot. The point was to live long enough to tell a better story. So I did.